Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming into another video. So, you guys follow my channel all the time. I think if you follow my channel all the time, the question that I'm asking is just more so out of frustration than actually a curiosity, because I really do legitimately know the answer to what it is I'm asking here. But I want to know why the Lakers are paying limited players. And the word I want to use is disrespectful, but I want to say the word bad, but I don't think these guys are bad. I'm bad. I'm not a good basketball player. There's levels to that. So for the level that they're playing at, they're bad. Why are we paying bad players? Why? I don't see any fruit in doing so. When you know a guy ain't no good, you don't have to pay him. You call up the G League talent behind him, who you know has upside, and you play him. See, I think that's the problem here. I think people still are kind of afraid of doing that. You know, there was a stat that was quoted yesterday while I was watching one of the games at random. I don't know which game it was, but the announcer quoted that it was over 50% of the league that has played for the G League at some point in time at this point. Over 50% of the current players in the league have worn G League uniform. There is nothing at all abnormal about looking at the talent down there and saying, that guy pops off the screen, let me call him up. We have had guys that I know have upside that is beyond some of the guys we're using out there. Mac McClung immediately comes to mind. You can't tell me Mac McClung ain't better than some of these guys who run it. And you know I'm a fan of Mason Jones. I've been mentioning his name constantly. I know he's better than some of these guys we're running out there. I think about a guy like McCoy that we have on our roster, and the way that he drives to the rim, and the way that he bounces off the screen and shoots and gets to his spots, and natural talent. There is zero reason for us to be struggling with some of the players that we have on our roster. That was something I was screaming in the summertime. I was prepared for this in my mind. I'm like, look, if these dudes come out and suck, we replace them, and you bring up the guys who are behind them, who we think are better than them anyway. This is what we've been screaming all season. I guess for myself, it doesn't take long for me to come to certain conclusions. I think that's what it is. Certain organizational decisions are immediate for me. Like, I can see things immediately. I know when a guy ain't going to be able to give me what I need for the season 3 games in. I already know. I think it's incumbent upon other people to come to certain more longer-sighted conclusions. And I think that's what Genie's and the Lakers organization is trying to engage in. I think the fans, because we're on such a long, dragging feeling of a bad season last year that was really difficult to sit through, I think we have so much hangover from that our patience level doesn't allow for us to kind of be as far-sighted as the organization would probably want the fans to be. But I think the issues are as glaring as they need to be to see them within 3 games. I don't think we need to see a full 15 games, 20 games of some of what we've seen to know that it is going to remain the way that it is, if not get marginally better, which will not be good enough for us to be where we want to go. So I think at some point in time we just need to say, let's nip something in the bud as soon as we possibly can. Now, I'm fully on board with keeping Darvin Ham. I don't have any interest in doing anything there. I like him as our coach, regardless of what we're doing, because at some point in time we have to establish culture. And I think the best way to establish culture is to get our own homegrown everything. Coaches, scouts, and players have that foundation in place for the next several years, decades even, so that you can keep flexibility and maintain without having to go through some of the headaches that we're going through right now. And that should be the plan for the organization. That should be the plan for every organization in the league. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. It's like, I'm not frustrated with how Darvin Ham is making mistakes or the short-sighted nature of how he's had to manage a very unorthodox roster at the beginning of his rookie season. I mean, this is not exactly Golden State Warriors, and he's Luke Walton inheriting like You know what I'm saying? Inheriting an NBA championship level situation. This is not what this is. This is difficult for anybody. Phil Jackson would have to stay up long nights trying to make this team work. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I expect anybody to figure this out. But the reality is, because of all of that I've told you about in regards to our patience, we want to see some changes. And normally we'd be screaming fire the coach after what we've seen, which is what the expression is. That it's not that. I don't need to fire the coach because of the problems that I've seen. I need to create an environment for which the coach can make mistakes and it not be so harmful for what it is our franchise is trying to do. We are short-sighted. We are a short-sighted franchise right now, but we stumbled upon the coach of the future for our franchise. I think what we need to do is just allow him what's best for him. Now, I know he didn't come here to coach a bunch of developing kids. He wants to continue winning. So, what we're trying to do is that. But I do believe that a rookie coach, in general, most situations, in a very good most situations, should have a fairly developing situation to work with so that he can grow with that situation. And that don't mean you fill him up with a bunch of young kids that don't know how to play. But you do make sure that your timeline isn't win right now. Like, absolutely right now. You know what I mean? At least get a man a couple years to get his feet wet, figure out what he needs to learn, get the rhythm of his rotation and the rhythm of what it is that he likes to do. Then he can implement a full off season having that already in place, which is very important because most coaches he's going up against is going to already have that. And then from there, we can start having a culture with those players that learn that coach, that love that coach, and it'll be his guys, and they go to war for him. And then over time, we have something really, really special at best, or like most situations, it just wears itself out, and we've enjoyed it, and then we move on from it after a time. But that's what we should be dealing with. That's not what we got. What we got is essentially the basketball version of hanging on the edge of a cliff without really anything to show for it. And that's kind of where we're at. And we got our little 2020 championship that I know, like I said, I'm very thankful for. But I am not at all looking at that as a means of something that's satisfactory to what it is that we're going through. It's not. You don't even pretend like it is. This is a team that we're meant for multiple championships. We didn't get LeBron for one championship and AD for one championship. We didn't give away Brandon Ingram and all those players for one championship. And that's really why I've been talking so much about the team today, because I don't want to moonwalk. It's nothing that's going on right now that wasn't foreseeable for me. As somebody, and if you follow me and you've been seeing these videos all this time I've been talking, I'm not surprised by anything I'm seeing. Unfortunately, though, this was a variable. And with this variable came a certain decision, and that decision was to send Russell Westbrook home. And then from there, send some of the guys who were struggling home. And then calling up them guys that I already mentioned and playing them more so, along with the Pippins and the Swiders and the Christies, letting them be part of more so what our rotation would be if we had issues with our role players. Now, some of that is skirted by the fact that some of our main role players are out. But that's always the story with us, and it's getting old. You know what I mean? It's almost like, but the dog ate my homework. It's like, well, okay, well, your homework should have been somewhere where the dog couldn't get to it. That's where we're at with that now. I'm tired of saying, well, we were just missing pieces. We couldn't stay on the floor together. We only played. I hear that every year. These dudes been on the team for 4 years together now. And every year it's the same story, that they haven't played enough together, that they haven't had enough time on the floor together. We just can't get. I don't care about that no more. I don't care about that. Create an environment where that's not going on, because that's not everywhere. Do you hear every core saying that? No, just ours. Enough. We talk a lot about what the problem is. Now we got to start talking about why the problems are there. The problems are there because people choose to do things the wrong way. And as a result, they end up having their dogs eat their homework. No more. So the excuses got to end. I understand Russell Westbrook is a hard piece to get rid of. So You just get rid of him first on the basketball floor. You don't worry about the trade and all of that. You know that that's an entirely different sport. The sport of trading pieces and getting back value for pieces and all that's a different sport entirely than basketball. You know, that has a whole different way to play. So if you play that game wrong because you're trying to play this game right, those two things connect and you end up having even more headaches. So it's not like you can separate one from the other. You got to do right by both or it all goes flat. So I understand that fully. That's why I don't make suggestions we make bad trades to make us better in the short term, because that doesn't really help you. Not actually. And I know that. So it's one of those things where it's like you just skip all of that stuff and you get to what you really need to do, which is how to fix the actual problem, not the surface issues, but the real issues, which is underneath everything, which comes down to a couple of people making decisions, taking stances and cutting people off, literally cutting them off. That's what we were talking about in the last video. The round table, as we call it, the Ramby, the Magic Johnson, the Phil Jackson. Thank you for your services, everybody. I love all of you guys for what you've contributed to our organization, and we won together. 2020, we did it. But I think we should all get to a point where even those who have inputting voices need to agree that those voices need to be quiet now, because we're getting to a point where it's too many of them. And see, that's another thing. If I'm in that room, I see that wisdom. As I'm a voice that's also inputting things, I would tell Jeannie, look, even if it's my voice that needs to go away, you need to cut off some of those voices so that you can have a centered direction. And that's what I've been preaching for the last 6 months. It's not about just support. Support is only one angle. Yes, I got support from my friends, but I also need to do what I'm doing right. And like I said, we're playing 2 different sports, maybe even 3 or 4, when you consider the business of it all. So it's like if one thing messes up the other thing and the other thing messes up the other thing, at the end of the day, it's all basketball. So if basketball comes first, would it not stand to reason everything else will fall into place? But if your feelings come first, or if one sport takes more precedent over the other, or if you kind of don't realize you're playing 4 sports and you only see it as one, all of these things will come together with you having the circumstances that these fans are upset about right now. And fans don't know no better. They're going to ask for whatever it is that'll help them feel better right now. And you know what? As I've said before, they're going to also want you to fix the problem when it goes wrong. If it don't lead to a championship, they ain't never going to be happy. And they're going to have the same voice screaming at you about something different. I'm one of those voices. Trust me, I know. I can't wait to speak. Whatever it is, I'm going to say it. And trust me, the next championship, I want another one. I'm going to be mad as hell if you buy me another championship and then I still have a path to sucking for 8 years after that. I ain't going to want that. But I'm also not going to lose that year either. There's no way to make me all the way happy unless I'm winning all the time. And because of it, you just got to cut your losses. Stop trying to appeal to the Laker fan. Stop trying to appeal to the player who has an issue right now, who may need some more moral support from somewhere else. It can't be from his employer in this way, to the detriment of the business. No. It would be wonderful if all jobs had that much favor for their employees, as Jeannie Buss seems to have for Russell Westbrook. I mean, if your job gave you as much rope as he's receiving on top of your salary being as high as his is, boy, your life is good. And that's my thing. It's like no business is going to do that if they're being run properly. You're not going to do that. If you're valuing things properly, he ain't worth that at all. And that's what everybody's saying at this point. Man ain't worth that. That's not the leverage that he has against us, to my knowledge, unless he got some pictures on some people or, you know what I'm saying, he knows some secrets we don't. At the end of the day, there should be nothing motivating you to prioritize him over the feelings of others. He has feelings, but so do everybody else, and their feelings are hurt because they're losing, as I tried to express. So I'm going to keep making these videos because I'm going to keep venting about my team, because that's how that's how I operate. But when you really consider what the big deal is right there, it's just trying to cut off all those voices so that you can have a centered direction. And then from there, in my mind, you just have to hire a president, like a real basketball president. If you don't believe that's your GM, then you gotta get somebody in there who knows how to manage a basketball organization. You know, to have the owner be that person, or to have the GM be that person, or to have a committee be that person in this era, I think is kind of misguided. You are in a world where the other teams aren't doing that. They're not doing that, and they're succeeding in what it is they're doing. So we got to figure out what it is that they're doing and try to figure out if we can kind of make sense of what it is we're doing based on what we see there. I think, because if we keep doing things like us, we're not going to evolve as the field evolves. You know what I mean? And their little way of doing things, we're going to be left behind. And I think that's what we're seeing now. We're left behind. We're in the dark ages as it pertains to building this franchise. So it doesn't have to stay that way. You know what I mean? But I do believe that the Los Angeles Lakers are very much at a crossroads, and have to make an organizational decision that can help them very, very quickly, which is the urgency here. I expect that Jeanie will come to that conclusion, and Russell Westbrook shouldn't be playing too many more games for the Los Angeles Lakers. I hope that she comes to that conclusion. It's up to her, you know what I mean? But I think everyone, Kendrick Perkins has now got on TV and said this. Stephen A. Smith agreed. Like, we're there now. We're at the place where everybody can see what it is I've been saying for the last, I don't know how long I've been saying that. Probably a week or two. Yeah, 2 weeks. Maybe more. But it became evident to me that he was going to be a problem more so a solution, whether he had a good attitude or not. But if his attitude was going to be bad, it was really going to be a problem. And so here we are. Now, I don't know what his explanation is for what he did in the shot and all of that. I don't know if he sees it the way I see it or what have you. But I know that I don't want to have any players on the floor acting that way in those situations ever again. I've seen guys have mental lapses in situations. I ain't going to bring them up by name, but we've seen them in big situations, big games. They just don't have it together, and they end up messing up because they forget something or whatever. But when you represent what Russell does and you already got all that he has going on, and then you do that, it looks like you did it on purpose. It just simply looks like you did it on purpose because you're unhappy about everything, just everything, and I get it. But once you start throwing games, or it appears that someone could accuse you of throwing games because of how you behave, that is blatantly outside of what should be going on down there, which we can clearly all see, that's when we start having to use our voice to try to fix that. Just fix that. You know what I mean? Just fix it. And that's what I'm about. I don't really know how you get to that point, but I know as a fan, if I had any power, it would be over with for that. That would be the end of him playing for our team. Yeah, that's it for me. And to be honest with you, yo, even last year, I knowing me and some of the stuff that I was seeing him have struggles with last year, and letting the ball fall off his foot and just the way he was shooting, my mind told me he needed time away from this environment. Like, if I'm thinking of empathetically, like I'm trying to have a good heart, like I believe Jeanie's trying to do, my heart immediately told me he needs to be away from the Lakers, because this is a bad place for that man. This is a place that is bringing out the worst in him, and he can't be himself in this place. So this is toxic for him, worse for his mental health, etc. So what my curiosity is if I'm to assume she has a good heart for Russell Westbrook, I need to know what it is that she's looking at if it's not that. That's my thing. Because I think everybody's jumping to the conclusion that she's doing him favors. And on its surface, if you're not thinking deeply about it, you're just saying, yeah, he needs to play basketball. Of course, he's playing for another contract. Yeah, all of that stuff on its surface, yeah, it looks like she's doing him a favor. But if you're looking at it for what it actually is, nah, she's putting him in hell and letting him sit there to rot in his nightmare. So I want Jeanie to just kind of see it the way I'm describing it, and then put us all out of our misery, because we're all suffering this nightmare. Not just him at this point. Should have been done last year. That should have been last year. And I know trading him in the offseason wasn't possible. You follow me. We followed that closely. That was not possible. But you also knew that if he didn't come back playing in a different way, if he didn't come back with a different mindset and a different way of approaching the game plan, if he hadn't gone home to fix what he needed to fix for him in himself, that he was going to come back the same player, and we were going to have even worse problems. And so the fact that we just did not do all that we needed to do to assure that this wasn't even present at the beginning of the season is just the wrong way to manage the thing that we have here called the Lakers. It's just the wrong way to manage it. So it's just bad. It's a lot of bad management, and you want to keep faith in everybody at the top, but we got to start seeing improvement in the behavior of the people at the top. It doesn't start with Darvin Ham and Russell Westbrook and all these. No, it starts with the people who are in charge of the people who are running things. They got to stop telling us that the dog ate the homework. That's basically what I have to say. So that's pretty much my thought. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. I know I will be venting more so about my team between now and our next game, because as far as I can tell, it's panic time. We got to hit the panic button if this is a win now, win this year type of season. Yeah, no, you have to stop the problems early. They can't manifest into as bad as they can get, and then you start talking about fixing them. It's already too late. You got to start doing things 3 games into the season. And I understand that. Deeply understand that. So I'm hoping you guys do too. Hoping Jeannie understands it most. And I hope those who are in her ear advising her this or that see that you are part of the problem too. All of you. Especially the ones who know the game. And you know the game and you letting her act like this? You letting her put these type of things in place? That's what you're suggesting? I expect better from all of my great NBA Lakers who happen to have her phone number. Tell her better. Suggest her better. What is this? This ain't 1993, 1982, or none of that. Why do we have archaic players on our floor? Dudes that could barely play in today's league, we got running around putting on purple and gold? You know how many people want to wear purple and gold around the world? And you let people who are not worthy to wear it, wear it. I don't know who's going to word it that way, but I will. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.